Alrighty, welcome back. Here we are, MauLer. We are about to go into the next episode of Firefly.
The penultimate episode.
Yeah, Lucky 13, Heart of Gold. Yes, this is one that involves a whole bunch of ladies of the night that need help.
Yes, it does.
This is definitely a very westerny themed episode.
Yeah.
Kind of, similar to the premise for something like Unforgiven, where it's like a young lady who works in that profession has been wronged. There's some bad guys in the marauding and causing trouble, and some gunslingers have to be brought in to try and pacify the whole thing. And it is another damn fine, fun episode of Firefly. It's got some pretty good action sequences around the midpoint. A nice relationship for Mal to get involved in. And again, just like the previous episodes, the message, quite a sad, poignant ending to it, which I think
I would say so.
Gives you
It's
that
got the whole lot, you know?
It really does, yeah. It's something that's takes you through that whole experience, doesn't really feel forced, doesn't feel contrived in any way, and altogether just flows together into a nice episode. And yeah, I think it's just another example. I don't know if this was part of the process of how the show was put together, but it almost feels like the more you progress through it, the more they were honing their craft in terms of the writing and just producing really slick, well-constructed episodes. It's almost like they were just getting better as they went.
Especially with any given conflict, the more you go on just has a full benefit of everyone knowing their characters, knowing what they'd say. And so it like blasts off. I get an energy bounce in this that I feel like the show has more than earned, which is applicable to the final episode as well. Just the more history there is, the more they have to pull on and the more they know each other. And it just feels like a cohesion is maintained as long as the writers are worth their salt.
Yes, and they usually are with something like this. So, well, as we always do, we're going to watch through it together. So if you guys are watching this at home and you want to tag along with us and have your own copies ready to go, then we'll all do it at the same time. So get ready to press play on 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, boy.
Alrighty, here we go. I always like those like massive zoom in shots where it's like you start crazy out in space and just bring it right down to ground level. It's neat.
Look, it's their solar beneficial energy plating. It's totally not just tinfoil.
Yeah, and it definitely wasn't done there to cover up contemporary architectural features. It's fine. They do actually bother to explain it in universe, which is neat. This is, again, it goes back to what we've talked about previously, where it's like, I can absolutely accept slightly goofy looking visual things like that, which was obviously constrained by budget and so on, as long as it's in service of good story.
Yeah, I get you. Like, it's very obviously cobbled together, this speeder he's got, both the physical one and the CG stuff.
Yeah. He has a killer line there as well as soon as he gets out the car. Like, shut up, whore.
Yeah. This actor is in a couple of things. The one thing I remember him from was Lost.
Yeah.
He was Kate's like parole officer or officer that just had control over her.
Yeah, he's got that look of someone that I've seen in quite a few things. I just can't quite name him. I mean, he definitely owns this part. I think he's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, he's everything you need as an episode villain.
It's that, I know we talked about this many times, but like that strange juxtaposition of the Western setting and like even the clothes that they're wearing, but also like, oh yeah, we got DNA testing and laser guns and stuff.
Yeah, they really want to try and get that balance going because you could tell they love both genres, so they want it both, which is tough to do, and the justification at times can be pretty like wibbly wobbly, but I think it's enough, and so many people just thoroughly enjoy it, especially the dialogue mixing in.
Yes. Yeah, because it is old timey Western dialogue for the most part, and I don't know, man. It just creates this crazy mishmash of a world where anything could happen.
I love it. It's something you were appealing to in the previous episode, just the comfortability of watching this show.
Yeah,
I just like this world. I like these characters. I want more, please. Always surprising him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's obviously the sort of emotional core of the episode is Mal's relationship with the girl on the planet, but then it's like it's almost like that's like playing second fiddle to his relationship with Inara and like the fallout from what goes on there.
Well, this feels like a exploration of what is typical in these shows. In almost every one of these shows, there is a will they, won't they between some guy and some girl. There always is. Most of the time, as a protagonist, or at least one of them. And yeah, this episode kind of does something again like the previous one that's a bit more bold than you get in a lot of TV shows, which is that what if you don't make it explicit enough in time and one of them, has some fun with someone else? Can happen.
Yeah. It's been said many times as well, like the relationships like this, they stop being interesting the moment they actually get together. And so you always have to come up with some contrived reason to pull them apart again. Because the drama and the interest is in the yearning for them to get together rather than it actually happening.
A common problem for all TV to solve. And for now, here we can... This show does a lot of yanking them apart whenever they get too close.
Yep.
Which, is very common as well. Fucking John and Aaron, dude. Took him like a million years.
Well, yeah, but they only did it through the medium of having a clone, which then ends up getting killed, and that pulls them apart because, like, how do you even begin to deal with something like that emotionally? The guy that you loved is dead, but then there's a guy who literally is him, who's just suddenly showed up again. He's just like
really
ready to rekindle the relationship.
Really unique storyteller in Farscape.
Yeah, so the premise here is like this woman was a candidate to become a companion, but kind of flunked out of the test, and so it just became like, I don't know, like general purpose whore, I guess.
Yeah, which is really interesting to hear Inara refer to someone as a whore, and Mal's like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah, it's like, thought you didn't approve of that word. It's like, well, it applies in this case.
Because I was eavesdropping. This episode was nominated for a Hugo Award for dramatic presentation.
That is neat, actually, yeah.
Don't hear about many awards the overall show got, though, in general. Buffy and Angel have the same thing. It's like, didn't get any awards for much of anything. I think they won, like, an Emmy at some point for makeup design, Buffy. Something like that.
Yeah, like something pretty obscure.
You always gotta love that element of his honor coming through, taking control.
Yeah, it's interesting that he seemed almost disappointed when she said that, like, this, make sure that this is seen as a strictly business arrangement. He's like, it's more than business. Like, I'm trying to help here.
So it's like the simplicity of Jane's thinking,
Yeah.
providing actually like funny lines.
So I mean, man, like something
Man.
as simple as a gag like that just absolutely gets me.
Always look there, it's like, dude.
This is like purely just a production point, but I just imagine the nightmare they must have had actually wrapping that shit in tinfoil.
Oh yeah,
Like,
they probably had like
like,
two guys doing it for a night or whatever. There's like,
yeah,
ugh.
and it's like the wind gets up and blows half of it away. Like, oh motherfucker!
I get sexed already.
No, that is an invitation.
The boy horse.
Girl folk. I changed just straight in there.
Yeah, they pretty much address all the characters again with this. Like, how do they all react to being in a place like this? What do they have to say? What do they have to do?
This is a nice little line between the two of them here.
Yeah. Because you're pretty.
It's funny, like Wash and Kaylee don't really interact that much, so it's kind of neat to just get little moments like that.
Yeah, because they both, you could argue, closest to each other in terms of like the most wholesome of the team.
Yeah, I guess like in terms of what they do on the ship, they're kind of stationed at opposite ends, aren't they? Like she's in the
Yeah.
engine room, he's in the cockpit.
Yeah, it looks like the guy who directed this one did a lot of directing for Nathan Fillion and Castle as well. Do you ever watch that?
I didn't know. Was
I
it?
never
Is
did
it worth
either.
my time?
No, but I've heard it's good. I just never saw it myself.
There's always got to be like some kind of repartee
That
between them.
whole
Just even
puppet
simple
show of
ones.
the beginning of Leaving Earth. Do you see that? They even had a Firefly ship on there.
Oh yeah.
Just describing, I guess, the beginning of how they expanded through the universe, which I don't know, would have just been neat to find out more and more about that as the show went on, if it had gone on.
Yeah, you know, because I had a lot of questions about this initially, just in terms of the world building and stuff. But yeah, it's obviously they would have delved more into the history, I guess, with subsequent seasons. It would have been quite fascinating to see how it all panned out.
It's a strategy, right? It's this 14 set has given us a huge amount of character. And like, you know, the more you go on now, we'll have all of that. So you can start carving out other parts of the world or the bigger plot lines and stuff. I feel like Farscape does the same thing.
I think
By the
so,
time
yeah.
you hit season 4, it's getting to really big scale shit, which I think they would have done here. Like we talked about how it's there's a good chance this would have led into eventually getting us to like a second Civil War. This show.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, I guess Farscape had that immense advantage of having like 4 seasons to play with instead of just one.
It's making me uncomfortable how much they were aiming that laser at each other.
Yeah. At first, I thought like, oh, the gun will have some kind of safety on it, so it only responds to him, like so no one else can pick it up. I don't think it does. Like anyone could use it.
As long as it has a general safety.
Yeah. But it is neat. He does deploy it, and it like it literally is a laser that will cut through buildings and shit. It's quite cool.
Aww.
He just wants to be a dad.
What a
Isn't that
beautiful
nice?
story.
I know, yeah. I'm 100% behind this guy.
And yeah, I think in a couple of other versions of this plot, he would have insisted that they leave, and as much as maybe even forced them to. But I quite enjoy he was taken with her speech about essentially like defending what's hers and not going to let someone take it from her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it applies to his own outlook on life, isn't it? Like his thing that he's willing to defend is the serenity in his crew. Like this is just the same for her. It's just not a ship in this case.
Yeah, because he'd totally do that.
Yeah. He just really wants to be involved, doesn't he? Like,
Oh, look, they're giving jobs to everybody.
yeah. See, I kind of think it would have been an easier way for them to get around this problem of like they were going to evacuate and then she goes into labor. It's like, oh, we can't move her because she's going to pop at any moment. That gives them like the motivation that they have to stay. But I think it's fine this way, where he makes the conscious decision.
Yeah, I mean, because you can, reasonably you can still get her on a ship. And I would say this episode and the prior one don't do as much for River out of all the characters, but the final episode definitely has a lot to do with her. And then Serenity itself is a big old River thing.
Yeah. The problem with her is like she's very specific, and I feel like once you start revealing her powers, like you can't close that bottle back up again. But yeah, I can understand why it's difficult to use her in just a normal episode.
Well, I assume it was always the plan to trickle her in because, like, these are much more conventional human beings that you could very much easily convince the audience of entertainment and, investment in before slowly getting the pieces of what makes up someone who's more complex, like River. Jane, nice and simple. You get him. You understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
I am quite fond of the line she comes out with here, and I consider it something of a really strong baseline for anybody with significant anxiety. This relates to anything really in life, but certainly creative works, right? That if you don't want to try something because you're worried about how it might turn out, I ain't so afraid of losing something that I ain't going to try and have it.
Yep.
It's just a really good thing to think something through if you're having trouble.
It's just a great like economy of dialogue where you can convey a really cool idea like that, a really interesting point, and do it quickly and easily. Like it's simple speech that she's given there, but it just conveys so much.
Yeah, I just feel like they build these two up real quick, very efficiently. Like I can buy that he gets quite invested in it.
Well, yeah, they're kindred spirits, aren't they?
They know what they were doing. They don't have them talk about nonsense, or they delay each fucking sentence with a 5-minute pause. They have them linking up on a lot of similar interests and values. Look at them with the intrigue.
Yeah.
Still building it up.
So, yeah, so the companions, are they organized into houses?
Obviously, you're almost at exactly what I know for companions now, so I don't
Right.
speculate with you. But the interesting part, I guess, is that she was at the top of the top, and then she ended up in a shuttle attached to a crappy little, smuggling ship. What the hell happened? And
Yeah.
from what I gather, I'd have to do some more reading again. It was they were going to reveal she was dying. I think, which matches some of the stuff she says at the end of this episode, actually.
It's really not someone you would want on hand when you're trying
No.
to give birth.
Oh no, they're getting drunk too.
We've all been there, bro. Made many
Well, you make a
mistakes
comment
with
about
women
that,
and
right?
drink.
He says, like, am I starting to look more pretty or something like that?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to be doing right before you go into a battle.
Well, it's like you said, there's a bit of a kindred spirit sort of thing. He sees way too much to get along with here, and it's like, why not,
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they managed to create a bit of conflict with, is that he doesn't really see any, like, issue here in relation to, like, Inara, because she's always quite distant with him, even though there's, like, little moments. So you figure, like, whatever, this is okay, right?
Well, yeah, and I think she'd already made that moral distinction between companions and whores, essentially. And it's like, maybe in his head, it's like, well, she obviously sees this woman as a completely separate thing. And if I use her services or whatnot, then it doesn't matter. Like, she's not going to have a problem with it. Clearly she
Well,
does.
it's the good old fashioned, like, to him, the meaning here isn't too deep, but to Inara, it's like significant.
If a girl shows you her guns, you know,
It's a sign.
it's a sign of trust.
Which is also a really good reference here as well.
Yes.
Long story.
It's neat. It's neat that they have those little callbacks.
And like even in a scene where they're just simply trying to, get them to fucking have sex, the writers are not missing opportunities to get some decent character beats in here.
Yep. It's actually interesting that they even bothered to shoot that scene, the sex scene, because normally they just fade to black and go on to the next scene. But yeah, they went for it here.
Passionate. They even got the squirty bottles of like nitro. What's the? Is it just glycerin or whatever? What's the thing that they use in movies?
It's glycerin, yeah, liquefied glycerin. Just get that sweat going. Either that, or it actually just was really hot on set.
Well, I mean, I think the benefit of doing it this way is to try and convince the audience that they are very into this. It's not just like a, 5 minutes or whatever, which I think is why Mal ends up feeling pretty fucking connected to this girl, along with the other things that they've discussed, and probably why it upsets Inara so much.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong because I'm not an expert on this, but I believe that, like, with actual ladies of the night, there's usually a no kissing rule. So the fact that they're doing it here is like, okay, this is maybe a deeper connection than what you would normally get if it was just about servicing him.
This is our "we are very evil" scene.
Yeah.
We're gonna go shoot some women.
It's great fun. So she's betrayed them. She's betrayed her fellow whores.
Damn you.
There's always one.
He's right, really. Exactly.
It's so funny. It's like held hostage to their decadent ways. It's like, well, you made use of them, clearly.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the scene is obviously like he's a piece of shit and a hypocrite and he's using bullshit to rally.
I do feel a bit bad, like, for the set designers here. They had like maybe a dozen guys like as extras.
Yeah.
Like at least twice that many get killed in the battle.
Hey man, they're coming. They're just around the corner.
Yeah, sure.
Just a friendly fella. Guys, you're in the wrong way. Horizontally, you're gonna be vertical, idiots. That's how a bed works.
I know. Imagine how uncomfortable that would be if you had to sleep like that all night.
And yeah, credit to the acting again, but she is clearly surprised and then like not happy with it, but then she rattles out like a whole bunch of I absolutely do not care about this whatsoever, and here's all my reasons why. Like, I think she does a decent job here of convincing Mal and the audience that this is actually fine.
Yeah, I mean, she plays it cool. Like, there's the initial surprise, and then she recovers her poise, and then she's just very detached and businesslike.
Why wouldn't you be? Get a little bit of fun there
Ooh,
too, and it's like, all
yeah.
right, well, yeah, there you go. And again, with the choice of editing here, right, we have the fun of Jane just. He's probably the one that comes out the most happy and easily with this whole episode. Just gets to shoot some people, have
Gets
some
to
fun.
fuck a woman, yeah.
Yeah, then you get this, which is
Yeah. This legit like took me by surprise when I saw it.
yeah. My assumption is that this would have been. She realizes how meaningful it would have been between those two because of she knows that girl well, and that I have to imagine part of it too is like shit. Did I screw up my chance? Like, have I
It
been
seems
too
like that,
subtle? Have
yeah.
I not been forward enough? That sort of stuff. It's just it's good romance
Well,
stuff.
and it plays into that revelation that you told me about the actress that made that, she's actually dying. And you just think, gosh, does that factor into her reaction there?
Yeah, well, I mean, timeline-wise, she may very well be running out of time to do what she clearly wants to do. That's the thing, is for both her and Mal, right? They neither of them are quite willing to be very, very clear about what they want from each other. I don't feel girlish or dirty at the moment.
She's kind of been on pause overnight.
I think they didn't show us, but it was a rough night for her, probably.
Yeah. Interesting look there.
Well, yeah, and this is somewhat of an explanation for why she would have done it if she didn't know it was on her end as well, the feelings. Because Anara would be the most experienced at being able to hide them.
That is true.
Which, yeah, that's how I see it, is like she's almost tearing up over the fact that she is so good at that. It kind of cost her.
I think when you consider like everything that happens between them in this episode and the effect it has on Inara, there really wasn't any other outcome to this than her getting killed.
I'd say
no
it just ticks all the boxes of it allows everything to continue. It puts a big old bump in their connection, and it creates a nice bit of tragedy. And we likely wouldn't have seen the character again anyway.
Yeah.
Or I guess that's up to the writers, but still, it just seems like economical, you could say. And yeah, they do not skimp on the women getting shot dead in this sequence.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of the fight, isn't it? Like anyone could get killed at any time, but again, it's a thing that they wouldn't do now. I don't think they wouldn't have the balls to show it. So everyone's got stuff to deal with now.
Yep.
Even the Serenity's under attack.
Is that necessary?
It's actually an interesting example of this being fairly realistic about what these high-powered guns do. Like, they will go straight through walls like that. It's kind of like, it always makes me laugh when people try to hide behind cars during gunfights in movies. Like,
Oh,
a car
yeah.
is not bulletproof. They will go straight through it. I think generally as well, like, the action sequences in this are fairly solid.
Man, I feel like Firefly's got everything you need. It just nails it. And they managed to do it when they were rushed and a lower budget than they would have liked. And with passion. What a neat show.
Yeah, I was never entirely sure what Book was doing with the water cannon. I feel like there's better weapons he could be using right now, but
Well, he was
it's
putting
fine.
out the expected fires from the laser, right? And then he just started using it on random shit.
Yeah, people especially.
But I definitely would have switched up to a rifle after putting out the fire.
So I guess he's just gone round the back. Seems to be.
Yeah, it looks like.
It's the last thing they'd be expecting. Such a dumb move that I can't believe it worked.
I love that laugh, though.
A little bit of Steve the Pirate there.
Yeah, I suppose this just explains why the Serenity couldn't help in the fight.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what it could do anyway against like scattered troops like that.
I can't remember what they did mention they wanted the Serenity to do something, but it doesn't have guns, so.
I mean, I suppose you could fly directly overhead and like the downwash from the engines would just like incinerate them, but
Could be something.
pretty big area of effect.
It's also just kind of scary to have it there, I guess, for the enemies.
Yeah, they don't know it's not armed. That was a good line. Oh dear, there you go. She down.
And like insta-killed from that.
I mean, yeah, if it fires through buildings, I guess, so it's going to be pretty messy for a human.
No dialogue needed.
I was just about to say that, isn't it? Cool. The way their facial expressions change and you just know exactly what they're thinking.
Oh, darn.
Goddamn battery. I'm actually quite impressed that he didn't just straight up kill him right there.
Oh, you could tell he wanted to.
Yeah. Pretty well deserved, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they didn't have Mal kill him, was it felt more appropriate to give the kill to her.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I just yeah, with Mala, like you obviously saw the rage there. You know, he's in vengeance mode.
Mm-hmm. Got that cultural crossing over stuff. I think white is more of a Chinese funeral sort of thing.
Ah. Such an interesting line from him, isn't it? Like, I wish I'd never met her because then I wouldn't have failed
Yeah.
her. Interesting how this plays with your expectations as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all the craft of dialogue, but as I said, that this would line up that this experience would have told her that she's going to die. It's only going to make everything horrible when it happens, and that the bonds they're developing over time in the past year or so is only making it more and more difficult when that time comes.
Yep.
So, not worth doing. But as Zoe mentioned in the episode, just because you're afraid of losing that very thing doesn't mean it's not worth having, that sort of stuff.
Well, they're all different perspectives, aren't they? On life, death, loss, love. And neither one's right or wrong. It's just it's all different people's life experiences and the way they see the world.
Like you highlighted with Mal's perspective on it, right? Like he wished he'd never had this whole situation because he never would have had to experience not being able to save her. When alternatively, she'd said it was, and she was meaning that it was very good that he was with her for that night, even though she didn't, appreciate it at first, because it gave her. If you remember, they do it very deliberately. The moment they wake up, she stares out the window. She's very happy. The girl he's with. Sorry, I'm forgetting her name, but point being is that he, they had a very, very meaningful time together, which is what bothered Inara, but later on actually made her very thankful that happened before she had died. Meanwhile, he goes from feeling like it was a really good decision that all of it happened to a bad one. It's like everyone's perspectives are shifting throughout about whether or not this was all worth it.
And well, ultimately another excellent episode, and
I'd say so, yeah.
And well, it sets up some interesting situations now because Inara's leaving. Where the hell do we go from here? We'll obviously find out with the final episode of the season.
Yes. I think you'll be a little surprised in terms of its format. It's not, I don't think it's a conventional finale, but then I think Serenity is set months after the final episode of this season. So, yeah, we got some stuff to watch, stuff to look forward to. And I think by the time people hear our coverage of the final episode, they're going to be very hyped for you seeing that movie.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I definitely am, that's for sure. But yeah, for the people that have watched this with us this evening, I hope you've enjoyed our little run through of the episode. It was certainly a good one. And I think you can almost gauge the quality of an episode by how little we talk, almost.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're just enjoying a scene.
The further along we get, the less I have to say about overall Firefly comments, in a sense, because we've kind of talked about it a couple of times. And just at this point, I'm just like, we're close to saying goodbye in a weird way. So
yeah,
just enjoying the ride.
But yeah, what a ride it's been. But, well, anyway, we will finish up there for this evening. But for everyone who's watched us or watched this along with us, hope you've enjoyed it. And we will see you for the final episode and then Serenity shortly. But that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye-bye.